This week on Jerusalem Dateline, NFL Hall of Fame players take Israel by storm and find something special.
Whether you're in Tel Aviv or you're in Jerusalem, it's the same love affair.
Plus, Scott Ross heads to the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem to talk about the Six-Day War.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
And a look at how help is reaching refugees of the Syrian civil war. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. If you love American football, you would have loved the single greatest collection of NFL players from the Hall of Fame ever to visit Israel. They came as guests of New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft. Many came for the first time and found themselves surprised by Israel and the land of the Bible. They called it Touchdown in Israel too. 18 NFL Hall of Famers joined New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft on his goodwill tour.
My passion is the game of football, and I love it, and I wanted to see it exposed here. It's our fourth quarter win in this Super Bowl is the story and the history of this great country, how it was founded and what it's done.
Legendary NFL players like Joe Montana, Roger Staubach, and Jim Brown made the trip. Most came for the first time.
It's unbelievable. First of all, I mean, the common theme was, because 16 of the 18 had never been here. They were afraid to come in, really. And the fact that I was coming made it comfortable. And they say that they think the American media just doesn't portray it properly. They've fallen in love with the country, I'd say to a man.
It's more of a community that's here, and whether you're in Tel Aviv or you're in Jerusalem, it's the same love affair you have, and that's something that we need to bottle up and take back to the States, because it's special to see.
To have the opportunity to come and go to the Jordan River and be able to experience somewhere in the vicinity of where Jesus stood. And to have that experience is something that revolutionized my life.
You may not realize it, but American football is the 5th largest non-Olympic sport in Israel, and it's growing.
We're really growing year by year. We're adding 2 or 3 new youth teams this coming season, and we look forward to continued growth year after year.
We have 2,000 players around the country now. Our tackle team is rated 17th in the world. Our flag team of women are 7th. Our men are 8th. You know, we've accomplished quite a bit on the field. We have a long way to go.
I play 2-on touch every Shabbat with like 10 other boys.
American football is also a passion for 14-year-old Eliana and her father Eli.
It was so cool because I got to meet one of the Hall of Famers, and it was really awesome because he was really friendly, and he asked me what position do I play, which is receiver, running back type of thing.
It's very exciting to see some of the heroes that I had growing up who are coming to Israel and appreciating my heritage.
Before the run of 5 Super Bowls, Kraft's late wife Myra told him he needed to support American football in Israel.
She said, you won't win Super Bowls until you start an Israeli football league in doing that. And of course, right after we started here, 2 years later, we won our first, and then the good Lord let us win this year as well.
Kraft plans to build a $6 million stadium later this year in Jerusalem. 2 days after Robert Kraft and the NFL players from the Hall of Fame met with Israeli football fans, they traveled across town in Jerusalem and saw what the future of American football in Israel will look like. On the outskirts of Jerusalem, a new multi-sports complex is taking shape. For centuries, pilgrims walked through this valley on their pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Now, pilgrims of a different sort, sports fans and players, will be making their way here to the Kraft Family Sports Campus, the first regulation-sized football field in Jerusalem and the Middle East. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft partnered on the complex with the city of Jerusalem.
I'm trying to bring together 2 passions that I have, love of the state of Israel and love of football, bring it together, and I hope it's celebrated 50 years from now.
Kraft sees the center as another part of Israel's restoration.
Well, it's amazing to me, in my lifetime, our people haven't been here for 2,000 years, and in my lifetime the state was created, and then with the reunification of Jerusalem 50 years ago, I'm so honored.
It's a huge honor. For hosting it, it's an honor to have the football field carry the Kraft family name in it. It's a classic win-win for the benefit of Jerusalem, the connection to football, and the Kraft family.
18 Hall of Famers joined Kraft, many visiting for the first time.
The highlight is seeing everything that I've seen, taking pictures of great images and things of that nature, and knowing I'm in the city and the Holy Land where our Lord and Savior walks.
Well, it's been something I've wanted to do for a long time. I grew up in the Catholic Church and practiced our faith through the Catholic Church, and so a chance to be in Jerusalem and also in Bethlehem, that history of Jesus Christ.
Watching the boys, their first reaction to going to some of the holiest places in the world. We've been here as once before, so trying to let them experience it for the first time and watching their expressions and watching their questions, and it has been gratifying for us.
Despite a tense relationship because of the Patriots' Deflategate controversy, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell joined Kraft for the ceremony.
Well, this means a great deal for me, for the Kraft family, and what they're doing here, and the importance Israel to the whole family, and the fact that he's using the ambassadors of our great Hall of Famers to promote the game of football is a real important benefit.
Coming up, the latest round of talks in the elusive quest for Israeli-Palestinian peace. Senior White House advisor Jared Kushner came to Jerusalem. Along with negotiator Jason Greenblatt, they met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian Authority Mahmoud Abbas. Their visit is the latest attempt to forge a peace agreement between Israelis and Palestinians. Listening and learning from Israelis and Palestinians, that's what Israel's defense minister says the Trump administration is doing.
They're proceeding cautiously, as should be, listening to all parties in the region, trying to find out what's realistic, as opposed to the top-down tactics of the Obama administration, which sought to impose a preconceived notion on Israel in particular and on the Palestinians as well.
Trump's recent Middle East visit shows he wants to include Middle East Sunni nations in a regional peace plan, yet it might have limitations.
Clearly the atmospherics in the region have improved, and the Israelis and the Saudis in particular have a common enemy in Iran. Is that going to play into Palestinian and Israeli negotiations in the way many people are hoping? I'm not sure.
David Weinberg sees a big difference between the Trump and Obama administrations.
The Obama administration took to hectoring Israel all the time, berating Israel. Trump has taken a different approach, work with Israel, see what's realistic, and time to give the Palestinians a dose of reality as well.
Part of that reality included reports President Trump shouted at Abbas in their recent meeting in Bethlehem. The president reportedly accused the PA leader of lying to him at the White House when he said the Palestinians are raising their children to live in peace with Israel, while official Palestinian media shows just the opposite. A White House official cautioned that an historic peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians would take time, so expect more visits by negotiators Kushner and Greenblatt. Recently, we sat down with former Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, who told us that this kind of peace between Israel and the Palestinians may never happen. In terms of the peace process, do you think this is like the tired old peace process that's been going on? They have confidence building measures, they jumpstart the peace process. Is the Trump administration just going down a dead end road?
of course they're going down a dead-end road. I give the president accolades for his attempt to want to have peace. He certainly is not a warmonger. He's a man who desires to have peace, just like the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, wants peace. We saw that right after the '67 war. The Israelis offered Resolution 242 to the Arabs in 1967. In other words, we'll go back to the '67 borders as long as we can have peace. What was the response of the Arabs? It was the Khartoum Declaration, which was no peace, no negotiation with Israel, and no recognition of Israel. The Arabs have been nothing but consistent. It is Jews, you die, and we take over the biblical lands of Israel. That's always been their position. Even if, Chris, President Trump today, this afternoon, was able to get a signature on a piece of paper from Mahmoud Abbas and the Palestinian Authority that, yes, we're going to have a peace agreement, that paper would be worthless, because tomorrow would begin the war against the Jewish state. It is avowed in their charter that they are going to push the Jews into the sea. And that's where we have to be clear-eyed and wide-eyed to know what the intents are of the people that we're dealing with. And then, again, mitigate accordingly, act accordingly. And so if you have people whose intent is to kill you, do you sit down and sign a piece of paper with them and then give them rewards? Of course you wouldn't. That would be suicide to do that. And so President Trump has not spent his lifetime in policy. He's a remarkable human being. I've known him for 5 years, who conquers 3 industries in one lifetime. He conquered real estate, he conquered entertainment, he conquered the political world. He's an amazing person with gifts and talents off the charts. But I think that this has been a temptation to one administration after another to think that somehow we'll be able to overcome the designs of the Palestinians, and we'll be able to, whether it's charm them or get them to see reason that you can live side by side peacefully with Israel. Israel's there. They would love to live side by side peacefully with the Palestinians. Your viewers are looking right down here at all Palestinian territory. Virtually the bulk of these buildings are inhabited by Palestinians. That's about as close as you can get to Jewish people. And the Jewish people say, fine, we don't have no problem with you living there. Let's just live in peace. But there's also a big wall down there. And why does there have to be a wall? Because the people who live in those Palestinian homes are only too happy to take knives, guns, and cars and do whatever it takes to kill the Jewish people, to get them out. That's called reality. That's a sobering reality. And I think every president needs to be apprised of what a sobering reality is. And unfortunately, we have too many, with all due respect, geniuses that have populated administration after administration and administration and fancy that they can somehow pull this peace process rabbit out of a hat with the Palestinians. And if you look at the Word of God, it's never going to happen. If you look at politics, it's never going to happen. If you look at history, it's never going to happen. Or if you look at sociology, it's never going to happen.
Appreciate it, Michelle, your expertise and analysis very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Up next, Israelis speak out about Jerusalem.
And the plan is to put us in Jerusalem, the Jews, to bring us back to Jerusalem, so we can protect what is so precious to the human race.
After 2,000 years of occupation by various world powers, Jerusalem was reunited under Jewish sovereignty in the 1967 Six-Day War. But since then, that victory pitted much of the world against Israel and even divided Israelis. CBN's Scott Ross took to Israeli streets to find out what people are saying about the war and Jerusalem.
I was in New York, and it was an extraordinary situation. All the troops were lined up, Nasser's troops. We thought we were losing Israel forever. We thought it was really a Goliath story. Nasser was ready to annihilate us.
After just 3 days, Israeli forces routed the Jordanians, reuniting eastern and western Jerusalem, including the Old City and Temple Mount. What do you know about the Six-Day War historically?
Obviously, it's hugely significant for all Jews.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be a seminal event.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was 20 years old, I remember well at that time.
Were you? Were you in the military?
Yeah. I was a young lieutenant in Golani Infantry Division in the north, in the Golan Heights.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you fight in the war?
Yeah.
What's your memory of that?
I was even hurt here.
What's that from?
A shell.
A shell?
Yeah.
Yavor Paro, Gamze Navor. We overcame Pharaoh. We'll also overcame whatever this is next to us.
Well, the 6 Days War is like, it's almost like a myth, I think, in the Israeli society of today.
Why?
It was a sign of Israel's strength and ability to defend itself against all odds. It's sort of like Israel's military DNA is almost based on the 6 Days War.
It's a very important war in the history of Israel.
Do people your age appreciate that?
I think so, yeah.
We all know that it's one of the biggest moments in the history of the Jewish state.
You might think such a victory after 2,000 years would leave no room for discussion. But the big win prompted demands that Israel turn over eastern Jerusalem to Palestinians, dividing the city as the potential capital of two states. I talked to Israelis and Jewish people in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. What about the possibility of Jerusalem being divided? How do you feel about that?
Never, ever. It will never happen. Because, you know, now after so many years, finally we realize the plan of God.
You believe in God?
Oh, yes. And the plan is to put us in Jerusalem, the Jews, to bring us back to Jerusalem, so we can protect what is so precious to the human race.
Give them half.
Really?
Just give them half, yeah. I think in Tel Aviv you'll find more left-wing people that say, who cares about a piece of ground as long as the blood stops?
It's a shame. Any Israeli saying such a thing, it must be a shame. Jerusalem is city of David. It's the most important place on earth for the Israelis, for the Jewish. We got it thousands of years ago from God, and it's our only place on earth.
I think we have kind of mixed feelings, because from one side of the story, of course, we're happy that we got Jerusalem, all Jerusalem, and that people are permitted to go to both parts. But I, from the other side, see the suffer of the Palestinians on the east side of Jerusalem.
I certainly believe that Jerusalem is the eternal capital of the Jewish people.
According to former President Bill Clinton's Camp David peace accords from the 90s, eastern Jerusalem and the Old City would be divided along ethnic lines. Jewish neighborhoods to Jews, Arab neighborhoods to Arabs.
No way. It's very difficult. If you go to East Jerusalem, you have one Arab neighborhood, one Jewish neighborhood, one Arab. I wish we could all live in peace, but dividing Jerusalem is not a possibility.
Do you think it would bring peace?
I would like to think so, but I really don't think so.
I think some parts of Jerusalem should be for all nations, like the Kotel should be, of course, for the Jews, but I don't think that we need East Jerusalem.
You don't think you need it?
No.
The dividing of Jerusalem is about destroying the state of Israel. Dividing Jerusalem is about pushing us a little further in the direction of the Mediterranean Sea.
Arabs can walk here now all the way to the market freely. Try to go now to the East Jerusalem with the flag, what's gonna happen?
Well,
first of all, the police gonna tell me get out because you escalated and you agitated and...
You wouldn't be happy about the city being divided then?
No, definitely not. It has to be unified, but in our way.
And does God enter into the equation?
I think there's no question that Jerusalem is the city of David. God has watched over Jerusalem for millennia. For 3,000 years, this is the most important city in the world.
You pray for the peace of Jerusalem?
Yeah.
Yes,
you think that you'll get an answer to that prayer?
I hope so.
Right?
Otherwise, I wouldn't pray.
Scott Ross reporting from Jerusalem and Tel Aviv.
Coming up, how Christians are helping Syrian children in Lebanon. The Syrian civil war is one of the great tragedies of the modern Middle East. When Syrian refugees Mona and her family fled the fighting in Syria, that wasn't the end of their struggles. But life took a turn for the better when Christians stepped in to help.
Mona is only 9 years old, but she and her younger siblings have been refugees in southern Lebanon for more than 4 years. Her family left Syria for survival after their home was destroyed by bombs.
We ran from house to house to avoid the explosions. I couldn't bear the thought of seeing my children killed. We came to Lebanon to save their lives.
When I met Mona's family, they told me her father tiles floors when work is available, but he recently had a motorcycle accident and won't be able to work for weeks.
It was hard before, and now it's even more difficult. There have been many days when we had no food to eat.
So CBN's Orphans Promise and Heart for Lebanon invited Mona's family to our food distribution. We give them and thousands of other refugees enough food to last a whole family until next month's distribution.
It's a very happy moment every time we receive the food portions. My children love the good meals.
Mona and her brother and sister also go to our Hope Center now, a school for refugee children where they study math, Arabic, and English in a safe Christian environment.
I'm so happy they are in this school because the teachers are very kind. There is a big difference between this school and the public schools where they hit the children.
I like it here a lot because we get to learn things in a calm, quiet way, and it's much easier to focus. It's fun.
We also show the students Superbook in Arabic and talk to them about the love of Jesus Christ.
We learned that Jesus saves the world from sin and protects us. I like to go home and tell my parents what I learned about the differences between good and bad things.
I have no problem at all sending my children to a Christian school, especially since they are very happy there. That's so important to me.
And kids aren't the only people we teach. In the middle of refugee communities where almost everybody is Muslim, we're holding Bible studies.
It's really nice to know that Christians are thinking of us. I'm so thankful for all you have done.
I want to thank all the wonderful people who are supporting us and making it so we can go to this school.
Let's remember to pray for Mona's family and the many widows, orphans, and other refugees from the Syrian civil war. Well, that's it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We'd like to leave you with this example of what you can see on our social media with this glimpse of the Sea of Galilee. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.